All right, I've been babbling on long enough about these Subaru 360 vans. That's actually what I enjoy doing. I like working on old two-stroke cars, as you have known by my YouTube handle. It's two-stroke turbo. I've yet to turbocharge one of these, but maybe someday. So we're working on this van today. Got the battery charged up overnight. And the video I did yesterday, there was a huge cobweb in the dash. It's still there, but I think we have more power now. Let's see if we can crank it over. Yeah, I think this van will start. I think it was running not that long ago. What's the tag say? 2014. So that's been 7-8 years. So if you're not familiar with the Subaru 360 van, the battery is in under the package tray, the seat, the luggage compartment. I don't know. It's the engine compartment. If you pick this up, this cover, unscrew the 4 bolts, you'll see engine's on the left side and the battery is on the right, and the battery is vented. Can you see that hose right there? A little air is blown into the battery box to keep the fumes from overwhelming passengers. That's how they did it back in the day. Okay, so we're going to check the engine out. We do know that it turns over now. I expected that it would. The battery is good, but the brakes are bad, and I think it's been sitting a long time, so we'll probably run into a fuel issue. So let's get this thing up on the lift and see what it'll take. I know it needs e-brake cables. I know it needs a few things. Let's see what it needs. Okay, we're going to see if we can get this van running. I got the key on just to check. It shows right there the fuel tank is 3/4 full. Don't know that to be the case. Wonder what this switch does right here. That's the heater. I can tell by looking in the hood, or under the bonnet, or the tailgate you might call it, of the Subaru 360, it has an additional or aftermarket Mitsubishi fuel pump. Most Subaru 360 vans have a factory fuel pump, mechanical fuel pump. It's actually not mechanical, it's a, what do you call that? Works off the pulses of the chamber. It's a pulse pump. It's not mechanical. It's a mechanical pulse pump, but it works off of compression pulses, and the diaphragms typically go bad, and they don't pump when the engine is off. So a lot of people convert to electric pumps. This is a terrible spot to put an electric pump, right above the exhaust. It gets hot. This is not at tank level, so there's no way that the fuel can drain into this pump. And with the key on, it is not running. Maybe there's a switch for it. I'm trying to look at this clear fuel filter. I guess what I'm trying to say is we got no fuel. So the engine won't start without fuel. I think I'm going to put this up on the lift and sample the fuel, drain the tank a little bit, and just see how bad it is. It's probably nasty, and get an idea. So before we have fuel, well, we have to establish fuel before everything else. We could check spark. But this has got a sedan distributor in it with electronic ignition, and looks like a hot coil, yellow coil. So that's all good. Somebody's done some nice improvements. Engine turns over nice and free. I can see timing marks in the window there. Engine is clean, so we're looking good. It does have the original spark plug wires that somebody's oversprayed on, but that's okay. Oh, it just started working. It just started working. That is crazy. I'm talking to you, it started working. Just needed a little something. Let's see if there's any fuel in this thing. So I'm still going to pull it up on the lift and drain a little fuel out. It could be all just solvent or nasty lacquer thinner, what I call it. Smells really bad. But that's amazing. The pump started working. Being that it's loud, though, it's trying really hard to suck, and it has no prime. So let's turn it off and get it up in the air. See what we got. So we got the van up in the air, and we're just going to do a little check see what's going on with this thing. And this may be the first time I've had it in the air. I can't remember. It has air horns. Look at that, air horns. What is this? Oh, that must be the pump for the air horns. I don't know what that is. It's weird. We do have our wheel cylinders on and our cross tubes here, which is nice. Wheels spin freely. Looks like there's been some work to the kingpins. That's good. No rust. This is our e-brake. This is all we have for the e-brake. Is just this. There's nothing else. Again, on this side we have new radial tires. We have stainless steel brake lines. That's good. The normal horn is here, and that's correct. Brake lines, no rust. We've got the venting system. That's good. Fuel tank is right here. I don't know if that gauge is accurate. I'm going to drain this and see. This is the drain plug to let the fuel out of the tank. The sender is located here on the side of the tank. Tank looks good, not rusty. Move to the back here. You can see the e-brake cables are missing. Anchor points are there. Rear wheel cylinders look really rusted. CV boots look good. A little bit of oil leaking from the transmission. That's nice. We know we got some oil in there. We're missing a bolt on the clutch housing. That's funky. What do we got here? Some bracket deal. That's not right. Cable, I don't think that's right. And a cross brace, which is factory. Factory muffler looks good. Okay, well, we got something we can work with. Let's get a wrench and get this cap off and see how much crud comes out of the tank. If anything, it could be completely dry. It sounds pretty hollow, and that fuel level sender, even though it's saying 3/4 of a tank, may be completely wrong. Okay, so after getting gas down my elbow, draining out, it actually doesn't look too bad. It doesn't smell too bad, and it looks like the tank is about half full. So the gauge is reading right. So I've got to get gas out of the tank and up to the carburetor, and I know the pump needs to be primed. So let's work on that. Okay, in order to prime the fuel system on our little Subaru here, I've got my vacuum pump out, and I've almost reached the top of my, trying to draw fuel through the pump. Actually starting to pump it now. We're going to overflow. I'm going to turn it off. Everything is just really dried out from sitting for so long. This comes from the tank, which is terrible because it's way higher, so it doesn't freely gravity feed into the pump. It's got to pump it up. Pumps don't pump well pumping up. They like to be gravity fed into. I gotta grab that phone. Okay, so we used our Mighty Vac vacuum pump to draw some fuel from the tank into the pump, and you can listen to the pump now. It's working as it should. Just slow clicks like that. It's not a real rattle-tat thing. I'm pretty sure the fuel bowl is full because the pump has slowed down. This choke is a little janky. I got the choke open. I do not dare to start this thing in the shop because it's going to smoke to high heaven. So let's roll it out and see if we can crank on a little bit and see what happens. Also, the gas pedal inside the car is disconnected, so I'll be working the gas from here just as long as it returns. It's just a little janky too. Okay, we got the little van worked outside. It's outside here. I got the choke on. The cable is not, it's been cut down and it's limited in its travel. It needs an adjustment, so I manually overrode the choke cable inside the car, pulled it all the way closed. We have fuel in the carburetor. We have an electronic ignition. I'm assuming that's working fine. It sounds like the engine's got good compression. We have a fuel pump that's working. This thing should fire. So let's try that. Let's listen for the fuel pump first. Yep, it just buzzed. Make sure it's out of gear. And we're gonna wing the key over. Let's see, we don't have a gas pedal. Gas pedal's not hooked up, so I can't get a throttle. There she goes. she runs. Seems like the timing is off, but it actually fired up. I'm going to play with it here a little bit and see if we can get it running a little better. Okay, so we're working on our little Subaru 360 van project here. Really nice script on this one. Looks like it's brand new, as well as the headlight bezels and the bumper chrome. Looks really good, really good. Mirrors aren't correct, but we'll forgive that for now. If we're working on the brakes, which we tend to do when a vehicle sits for a long time, I think I've already explained that I've replaced the upper and lower wheel cylinders. There's a leading and trailing wheel cylinder on each front wheel, and they're specific to the vans and trucks. They're a certain size and a certain orientation. You can't mix them up with any other car. Very special. But we're not going to talk about that now. What we are going to talk about is where the brakes originate from. The pedal, which you saw right here through the floorboard, presses directly on this lever, which presses on the master cylinder. The master cylinder is encapsulated within the frame. Kind of weird. It just bolts right to the side of the frame. It's just a one-line master cylinder, or single circuit, I guess you'd call that. So this is the fluid out, and this is the fluid in, this rubber hose that is from that reservoir over there. This hose is wrong. This is fuel line, which can be broken down by brake fluid. And what happens is the brake fluid breaks down this rubber fuel line that's not brake fluid resistant. Parts of the rubber get sucked into the master cylinder, and it creates problems, as well as other problems like rusting out. So the master cylinder has already been removed from this car. To get the master cylinder out, you have to take the pedal tops off. So what I mean by that is this is the pedal, unscrews from both the brake and the clutch pedal, and then this access panel lifts up and out of the way. The gas pedal is attached to this panel. That's why I couldn't rev it up from the cabin when we were starting the engine. So the brake master cylinder is removed. I've got it over here on the bench. I'm going to show you how this works. First of all, you get the brake master cylinder out, and you get a light, and you look down in there, and you can see it's aluminum. And I think we're pretty lucky on this one. I've already polished it and honed it out, and I'll show you how I do that. There was a spot in there that was a rough spot that bothered me. It was right where the seal sits, and I'll show you how that works. The inside of the master cylinder looks something like this. This is the part you'd push on. You have two seals, an outward seal and an inward seal, I guess. And right under where this seal sits here, the water must have accumulated, which rusted the aluminum and left a pit. To get that pit out, you gotta be very careful. You need to take a little hone on your drill like this, a little cylinder hone, lubricate it really well, get it clean, run it up and down in there really fast so you don't leave any hash marks or cross hatch that's too gritty. And then you take and you polish that out with a 3M pad. So I'll shortly be shoving this in there and high speed up and down, trying to get that thing to be a mirror finish so that seal can seal really tightly to the bore. Don't overbore it, anything like that. So that's where we are now. We're going to get a rebuild kit for our rubber seals, which are soft and gooey. We're going to put those back on once we get the cylinder cleaned up, and then we can put the cylinder back in the van and see if we can build up some brake pressure. Oh. So a long time ago, when I started rebuilding brakes, I found this hydraulic brake assembly fluid. Really makes a difference keeping everything lubricated, and when you install your parts to your master cylinder. We got the master cylinder all honed out nice and polished, looking there. The check valve is already in there. This is your return spring, our piston, and our two seals, and then the hardware to hold it all together is there. Let's assemble it. All right, so once you got your master cylinder rebuilt on the bench, you cannot bench bleed it, unfortunately. You got to get it back into the van. And to do that, there's a bolt here and a bolt right a little lower. Sometimes you got to get underneath the van and move the clutch pedal right there to get to that bottom bolt. Tighten those up, get your fitting on, which is your main brake line fitting right there. I would recommend tightening that up before you put the master cylinder in. You can see this white nipple is ready to accept the brake fluid supply line. Again, this is the wrong line and I don't have the right size. So I'm not going to try to bleed this with this line. I have to order some. It's going to be a couple days. So we're probably going to end the video here. You'll notice your clevis goes into your pedal. So your pedal, which is right here, now operates your brake smoothly. And while I had this out and put the rebuild kit in, I could tell that I was getting vacuum and pressure on just by holding my thumb or finger on it with the glove. So I know that there's a good seal in here, and I have a really good feeling that this master cylinder is going to be viable. Now I am at an advantage because I happen to have an NOS rebuild kit for this master cylinder. A Subaru 360 master cylinder is not easily found. You can't just go get one. They're starting to become available. You got to go to Japan usually. But I'm lucky in that sense that I bought out all the NOS stock that a couple parts stores had years and years ago. So I think we're going to call it quits for today. The weekend is upon us. We will bleed the brakes next week, and we'll catch up to you guys. And now that we got the van running, we just got to get it stopping and driving and make the customer happy. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something today, because I really want to inspire people to get these little cars back on the road. I mean, with all the technology that we have, this is a refreshing break from that. I know that they're smoky and emissions not so friendly, but they're just so fun to tool around the neighborhood. And I think a lot of you guys agree with me. Nothing better than a good running Subaru 360 van. All right, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.